Welcome to the full flight tutorial for the Virtualcol A220 for MSFS. Let's go. So our flight plan today in the world map is high altitude airways from Stansted, runway 04, taking Barkway 2 Sierra, to Glasgow for a direct approach onto the ILS for runway 05. We're starting from the runway today. First we'll clear out the obvious messages about no smoking and seatbelt lights. Those switches are on the overhead panel here. With that done, I'm going to increase the range on my navigation display so I can see my route a little bit further ahead. With that done, we can now head down to the FMC. So everything is pre-populated essentially if you filled in a flight plan on the world map. So initialize page is done, flight plan is done and reflects what you've entered on the world map. So we'll just flick through here, and heading over to the perf page, our V-speeds are already pre-populated. Okay, it's now time to head up to the autopilot panel. So our speed was already correctly set to our V2 speed plus 10. We will activate nav mode. We'll dial in our cruising altitude, which is 26,000 feet today for a domestic flight. And with that done, we can activate VNav. And that's it, we are literally ready to go. So we'll head down to the pedestal, take the parking brake off. We'll just clear the master caution light before we depart. Now it's full throttle for takeoff.
V1, rotate.
So as soon as we have positive rate, landing gear comes up. I also retract the flaps because the speed builds really quickly. Manually following the flight director till about 400 feet. Activate autopilot and auto throttle. The airplane will now climb and start to follow our flight plan. When you cross transition altitude, just set the air pressure on the barometric pressure dial to 2992, which is standard pressure. Now just let the plane climb to its cruising altitude, and once it reaches that, you'll see an altitude annunciator and the airplane will level off. So at cruise we can take care of a few things for our arrival. So on the FMC, on the nav radio page, you'll see our ILS frequency has been auto-populated from a world map. We need to insert this into the radio panel on the autopilot panel. So you follow the steps that are shown here, and your ILS will be tuned ready for approach. Returning to the FMC, I'm going to find our bottom of descent altitude. So just for convenience here, we're going to say bottom of descent is the lowest altitude shown on the FMC before the runway. So on this flight plan here, it's 2,400 feet. Don't do anything with that number for now, just remember it. When the Sims ATC gives you the call to descend, that is when you dial in your bottom of descent altitude to the autopilot panel and the airplane will start to descend. The airplane may well decelerate slightly during this phase of flight, which is completely normal. Now as you descend through transition altitude again, just hit B to set the local air pressure. The plane may decelerate slightly again during descent, so if it does, just apply flaps that are appropriate to that new speed. And at bottom of descent you'll see an altitude annunciator and the airplane will level off. So just before you turn onto final, we're going to finish our deceleration. So as you apply flaps, the airplane will automatically start to decelerate to its approach speed. Once you're at your approach speed, which should be fairly soon afterwards, you can drop the landing gear. Now as you turn onto final, hit the approach button, you'll see a localizer annunciator appear. And then as the plane catches the glide slope, you'll see a glide slope annunciator appear and the airplane will start to descend. The A220 doesn't support auto lands in the sim, so around 200 feet I disable auto throttle and autopilot and idle the throttle.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
brake to a stop, and that concludes our tutorial. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please drop a like. Feel free to subscribe for regular sim content. Take care, and I'll see you next time.